Have you ever heard a piece of advice that sounds, well, completely backward? Today, we're diving into one of those. It's an ancient paradox that seems like a riddle, but once you crack it, it could totally change the way you think about getting smarter.
Okay, so here it is. A fool who knows he is a fool is wiser than a fool who thinks himself wise. Just let that sink in for a second. It's a bit of a head-scratcher, right? How can being a fool possibly be a sign of wisdom? But trust me, there is some serious truth hiding inside this little puzzle.
So, what's the deal? What does this actually mean for you and me right now? How can admitting you're a fool be the wisest thing you can do? That's the big question we're going to unpack, and the answer is surprisingly practical.
To really get it, you have to realize we're not talking about just one kind of fool. We're talking about two completely different types, and the entire paradox, all of its wisdom, hinges on the contrast between them.
So on one side, you've got the unaware fool. This is the person who's absolutely convinced they've got it all figured out, they're totally blind to what they don't know. Then, over on the other side, you have the self-aware fool. This person starts from the complete opposite place. They are painfully aware of how much they don't know.
And this one little difference, how they see themselves, creates two wildly different mindsets. It affects absolutely everything they do. So let's see how this actually plays out in the real world.
Okay, think about what happens when they make a mistake. The unaware fool? Their first instinct is to get defensive. They start pointing fingers. It was someone else's fault, the instructions were bad, whatever. But the self-aware fool? They get curious. A mistake isn't a threat to their ego, it's a learning opportunity. Their first question is always, okay, what can I learn from this? You see? One mindset shuts down and the other one opens right up.
And this goes even deeper. The unaware fool sees knowledge as this thing they own, something they have to protect, so if you give them feedback, it feels like a personal attack. Every conversation becomes a battle to prove that they're right. But for the self-aware fool, knowledge is a journey, a constant discovery. Feedback isn't an attack, it's just data. And the point of a discussion isn't to win, it's to work together to find the best possible answer. It's a completely different game.
So let's get real for a second. Which of these sounds a little more like you, especially when you're under pressure or when someone challenges your ideas? It's a tough question for sure, but just being honest about it, that's the real first step.
So let's be clear. This quote isn't telling us to be ignorant. Not at all. It's telling us that the only possible starting line for finding real wisdom is to first admit our own ignorance. You know, there's actually a name for this quality. It's called intellectual humility. It's just that simple, profound awareness that your knowledge has gaps, and that your beliefs, well, they might be wrong. And that's not a weakness. It's actually the superpower of the wise, self-aware fool.
So how do you actually do this? Well, it's a practice you keep coming back to. First, you have to actively acknowledge your own limits. Second, get really comfortable with saying the three most powerful words in learning, I don't know. Third, try to shift your goal from being right to understanding. And finally, the most important part, just repeat, forever. This is a journey, not a destination you arrive at.
Ultimately, this is what it all comes down to. We tend to think that wisdom is about collecting all the right answers, but this ancient idea flips that on its head. It suggests that true wisdom doesn't begin until you start questioning the answers you already think you have.
So I'll leave you with this to think about. Where in your life, in your job, in your relationships, in your deepest beliefs, could allowing yourself a little more foolishness actually make you a whole lot wiser?